To really get a handle on one of the biggest transformations in all of human history, you've got to go back to the world it was born into. So today, we're going to journey back to the Arabian Peninsula, way before the 7th century, to explore this amazing web of tribes, vast deserts, and ancient family lines that set the stage for everything that came next. So, who were the people living in this land? You might think of it as empty desert, but no way. It was this dynamic stage, a real crossroads for empires and ideas, and it was filled with powerful tribes whose traditions stretched back into the mists of time. Let's peel back those layers and meet them, shall we? All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start wide, looking at the land itself, and then we'll meet the 3 major groups of people who called it home. From there, we'll trace 2 super important family lines, one from the south, one from the north, and we're going to follow them like a funnel, narrowing all the way down to one specific family that would, well, change the course of history. First up, the stage itself. Look, to understand the people, you have to understand their environment. And the Arabian Peninsula was a place of wild contrasts, a land of extremes that really forged a unique destiny for its inhabitants. Okay, what's so fascinating here is the total paradox of Arabia's geography. On the inside, you had these massive, harsh deserts that acted like a giant fortress. They kept huge empires like the Romans and Persians at bay and allowed the Arabs to keep their fierce independence. But on the outside, the peninsula was smack in the middle of everything. It was this vital hub, a crossroads connecting the great powers through trade, culture, and religion. It was somehow both isolated and totally central at the exact same time. So we've set the stage. Now, who were the actors? Who were the people living in this unique land? Well, Arab historians and genealogists have traditionally broken them down into 3 major groups based on their ancestry.
3. That's the number to remember. 3 foundational groups, and each one has its own distinct story, forming the very bedrock of Arabian identity.
First, you've got the perishing Arabs. These are ancient tribes, and honestly, their stories are mostly lost to history now. But the 2 groups you really need to know, the ones who shaped the future, were the pure Arabs, the Qahtanians from Yemen down in the south, and the Arabized Arabs, the Adnanians, who traced their family tree all the way back to Abraham's son Ishmael in the north. It's these 2 powerful lineages that really drive the rest of our story. All right, let's start in the south with the Qahtanians. Their story isn't one of just staying put. It's a story of a massive, history-shaping migration out of their original homeland. So these Qahtanians, the pure Arabs, they originally came from the fertile lands of Yemen, but their whole world started to change. See, when the Romans took over Egypt and Syria, they basically cornered the market on sea trade. This put a huge squeeze on the traditional land caravans, and that economic pressure, well, it forced a lot of Qahtanian tribes to pack up and look for new opportunities all across the peninsula. And this cable just lays it all out perfectly. I mean, look at the tribe of Oz. They spread out everywhere, eventually forming the Ghassanid kingdom up in Syria, and, get this, the tribes of Oz and Kharaj in the city that would later become Medina. The Luqmids founded a kingdom in Iraq. This wasn't just some small family move. It was a massive dispersal that planted powerful new Arab kingdoms and tribes all across the Middle East. Okay, so we've covered the south. Now let's shift gears and head north to that second great lineage, the Arabized Arabs. And their story kicks off with one of the most revered figures in all of human history, Abraham. The Adnanians trace their family line directly back to Abraham through his firstborn son, Ishmael. So their story isn't about migrating from Yemen. It's about a brand new beginning planted right in the heart of the Hejaz, in the Valley of Makkah. I mean, Abraham's own journey was absolutely epic. It took him all the way from Iraq over to Palestine, down into Egypt. And then, in this pivotal moment, he brought his wife, Hagar, and their baby son, Ishmael, to settle in the barren, pretty uninviting Valley of Makkah. And it was right here, in this desolate, unlikely place, that a new and incredibly powerful branch of his legacy would take root. And right at the heart of this legacy is this profound story of sacrifice. Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son, Ishmael, and Ishmael's own submission to God's will. This became a foundational event. It sealed a special bond, a spiritual heritage that would echo down through all the generations of the Adnanian Arabs to come. Okay, and this is where our funnel really begins to narrow. It's like we're using a historical zoom lens. From the broad descendants of Abraham and Ishmael, history starts to zoom in, focusing on one specific branch of the family tree that just rose to prominence above all the others. It all kicks off here,
Ishmael had 12 sons, and they founded 12 tribes that spread out across the peninsula. But as time went on, the histories of most of these tribes kind of faded away, with one big exception, the descendants of his son, Kedar.
Now, follow that line down a few generations from Kedar, and you get to a pivotal figure named Adnan. He is the great forefather, the one to whom all Adnanian Arabs, those Arabized Arabs of the north, trace their direct ancestry. The focus of our story now narrows just to his descendants. Following Adnan's line, we zoom in again and another powerful group emerges, the tribe of Kanana. Because of their strength and their influence around the key center of Makkah, they became one of the most respected tribes in the entire region. And within the Kanana, we find the Quraysh. These are the descendants of a man named Fahar bin Malik. And this is key. It was the Quraysh who settled in Makkah, and under their leader Qusay bin Kalab, they united and became the official custodians of the Kaaba, that sacred house built by Abraham and Ishmael. So you see what's happening. We've gone from a whole people to a tribe to a clan. And even within that powerful Quraysh clan, one family was held in the absolute highest esteem for their leadership and their nobility, the family of Hashim. And this is the culmination, this entire journey through history, through geography and family lines, from a vast peninsula all the way down to a single family, it all leads to one man, Prophet Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, from the family of Hashim, of the clan of Quraysh, a direct descendant of Adnan, Ishmael, and Abraham. And you don't have to take my word for it. The Prophet himself described this whole process as a kind of divine selection, not just a random accident of history, but a deliberate choice. We're finding the lineage through the best of the best, generation after generation, all culminating in the final messenger. So that leaves us with one massive question, right? How would this world of fierce tribes, proud traders, and ancient family lines react when one of its own, from its most noble line no less, brought a message that wasn't just for a single clan or tribe, but for all of humanity? Well, that's a story for another time.